Oki Niksukwa. My name is Inge Gene Kini Taneko Pitaki. Welcome to my online Blackfoot grammar course. In this video, we take a look at the definition, pronunciation, and transcription of Blackfoot consonants. If you're only interested in how to write Blackfoot consonants and you don't want to learn the phonetic symbols or details about pronunciation, please skip to video 7, where you can also hear the words pronounced by fluent speakers. This chart gives all the regular consonants that can be made by the human speech organs, independent of which language you speak. Thankfully, individual languages only choose a subset of all these sounds. Because different languages make different choices, different languages have different sound profiles. You can learn to recognize these sound profiles even without speaking a language. For instance, even if you don't speak Spanish, you will probably know that someone is speaking Spanish by how they sound, even if you can't understand them. This is an overview of the consonant sounds of Blackfoot. The place where the sounds are made is labeled at the top of the chart from left to right: labial, alveolar, palatal, velar, and glottal. How the sounds are made is called its manner. This is labeled on the left side of the chart from top to bottom: plosive, nasal, fricative, affricate, and glide. Most of the symbols used here look like familiar letters like P or S, but some of them do not, like the weird thingy that looks like a question mark with the dot missing under glottal, and the symbol that looks like a C with a little hook under palatal. The symbols here are not letters from the Blackfoot alphabet, but phonetic symbols from the IPA chart. To emphasize that these are phonetic symbols and not letters, we write them between forward slashes. And in the rest of this lesson, you'll learn all these sounds and how to pronounce them. We're going to start by looking at what is called place of articulation. Place of articulation defines consonants based on where in the mouth they are produced. And we're going to go from front to back. Labial sounds are made with the lips. The picture you see here is for the sound P. This sound is made by closing your lips and then letting the air that has built up behind that closure escape when you suddenly open them, and that creates a popping noise. An example is pita, eagle. The sound M is almost the same, but the air then escapes out of your mouth. A word with M is muhkinstsis, meaning elbow or Calgary. Alveolar sounds are made by putting the tip of the tongue against the alveolar ridge just behind your upper teeth. The picture represents the sound T, like in taka, meaning who. Other alveolar sounds are N, like in ni stu, meaning I. We also have S, as in sa, meaning no. And finally, we have a sound that English doesn't have, ts, like in tiki, a term of address for a boy. Palatal sounds are made by putting the middle part of your tongue against or close to the hard palate at the roof of your mouth. The picture represents the glide y. Be careful, this sound is usually written with the letter Y in English and also in Blackfoot, like in the word yes, but the IPA symbol for it is a J. This sound does not occur at the beginning of a word in Blackfoot, but you can hear it in the word ayo that often begins a Blackfoot prayer. The second palatal sound has a symbol that looks like a C with a little hook under it. If you know French, you will have seen this symbol because it is a letter in French. But when we use it as an IPA symbol, it means h. Some people say the H in the English word huge with this sound, but otherwise it doesn't occur in English. This sound occurs in Blackfoot in words such as stoyop, meaning fork. Many Blackfoot speakers often pronounce this as an S, so stoyop. Velar sounds are made by putting the back of your tongue against the softer part at the back of the roof of your mouth. That is called the soft palate or velum. The picture is for the K sound, like in koopis, meaning soup or broth. The symbol X stands for the G sound that occurs in words like nachts, meaning my grandmother or grandfather. Blackfoot also has a K plus S combination in words like Xarco, meaning land. And the last velar sound is the W in words like awakasi, meaning deer. W is sometimes also called labiovelar because you pull your tongue back up, but you also round your lips. So it's labial and velar at the same time. Glottal sounds are made at the glottis. The first one is the sound called a glottal stop or glottal plosive. It's a little popping noise made by opening and closing the vocal folds. If you put your finger against your Adam's apple and you say a few times, you will feel it. You can also feel it in the middle of the word na'a, meaning mom. H is also made in the glottis, in this case by letting air hiss past the vocal folds, like in the word hanya. Now we have seen all the places of articulation that we need to describe Blackfoot consonants. How speech sounds are made is labeled on the left side of the phonetic chart from top to bottom, and this is called manner of articulation. Plosives or stops are sounds that are made by stopping the flow of air coming out of the lungs and then releasing it, which makes a little popping noise. The picture is for the P, as in pita, but we also have T, as in taka, K, as in kuopis, and glottal stop, as in na'a. There is an important difference between the way that the sounds P, T, and K are pronounced in English and in Blackfoot. The English sounds are often aspirated, but the Blackfoot ones are not. Aspiration is a puff of air that is produced when saying a P, T, or K sound in English. You can feel it for yourself. Hold your flat hand with the palm towards you close to your mouth, and then say the English word P. And you should feel a puff of air against the palm of your hand. Now say the Blackfoot word pita. You will not feel a puff of air, or if you do, it should be much softer. If you do feel a big puff of air, you need to work on your pronunciation. That lack of aspiration in Blackfoot means that Blackfoot P often sounds like an English B. Blackfoot T often sounds like an English D. And Blackfoot K often sounds like an English G, like a G sound. Nasals are made by stopping the flow of air through the mouth, but letting the air escape through the nose instead. The picture is for the sound M, as in muhkinstis. But in Blackfoot, we also have N, as in nistu. Fricatives are made by letting air flow through a very narrow passage so that it creates a hissing sound, like the S in sa, which is in the picture. Other fricatives in Blackfoot are ch, as in chtoiop, ch, as in naachs, and h, as in hanya. Affricates are sounds that are basically a combination of a plosive followed by a fricative, like t in tiki and x in xarco. The picture shows the S part of the TS sound. And finally, glides or approximants are sounds made with a quite open mouth, almost but not quite like a vowel. The picture represents a W, as in awakasi. W is made by putting the back of your tongue close to your velum. That's why it's velar. But you also round your lips, as you can see in the picture. And then we also have a palatal glide, y, as in ayo. Before we can finish our overview of Blackfoot consonants, there's one more thing we need to mention. Many sounds in Blackfoot have two versions, a shorter one and a longer one. The longer one is called a geminate. The phonetic symbol for a long sound is that we add a colon to it. Not all consonants have a geminate version. Only the PTK, the nasals M and N, and the fricative S have a distinct long and short version. The difference between a long and short sound can be very hard to hear if you're not a native speaker of Blackfoot. It doesn't exist in English, so there's nothing you can rely on from what you already know. An example that's often used is the difference between kako, meaning let's go, and kako, meaning dove or pigeon. The first word has a short K in the middle, and the second word has a long one. To make a long plosive, you hold the closure a little longer before you release the air. To make a long nasal or fricative, you just hold the sound a little longer. And you can see that the Blackfoot spelling system writes the long sounds double. So now we are ready to show the whole inventory of Blackfoot consonants. This is the same as the chart we saw earlier, but all I've done here is added the geminates so that you can see which sounds come in a short and a long version. We will look more at how to write Blackfoot consonants in video 7, where you can also listen to recordings of fluent speakers saying the words. And that's it for today. Shoot me an email if you have any questions. You can find our online dictionary, story archive, resources, and recordings of almost 400 conversational phrases in 3 dialects on the Blackfoot Language Resources website at blackfoot.algonquianlanguages.ca.